is the Communist Party violent mob, that's to say the Democrat Party, violently attacking federal law enforcement in Chicago yesterday. They were also yesterday attacking federal law enforcement in Portland, Oregon. They're the Democrat Party. Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. And I want to share a couple of things with you about the violence that the Democrat Party has normalized in the United States of America. They're still talking about January 6th this morning on CNN, but they're not talking about the 3-day siege of the White House when President Trump was living in there, setting fire to the Church of the Presidents, the historic St. John's Church in Washington, D.C. They couldn't even tell you that happened. Like Jeffrey Tubout with his, the FBI brought the classified cover sheets to, they don't follow the news, they don't read the news, they don't remember the news, their brains aren't very good brains. They're quite lame. Now, yesterday we were talking about, and I just find this stuff to be amazing, talking about the violence in Chicago over the weekend. And in fact, Michael and I were talking about it yesterday before I left, and there were 4 murders and 20 shootings in Chicago over the weekend. And we started to record something about that, the teases for today. And it turned out they updated the numbers. And there were 5 murdered, and just over the weekend, just in Chicago, 5 people gunned down and murdered, 25 more shot. So a total of 30 shot, 5 of them shot and killed, 25 of them shot and wounded. And the Democrats say, hey, pretty good weekend. Could have been worse, I guess, huh? Let's go to, because the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, is testifying on Capitol Hill today. And the Democrats are out to get her because they're misogynists. They're all cross-dressing, transgender, anti-woman. And they're toxic transgenderosity. Yeah, they can't have toxic masculinity because they're kind of neuter. But let's go to, what do we have? Dick Durbin, Dickie the Turban, from the state of Illinois, where Chicago is the biggest city. And Dickie the Turban was there, and the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the entire United States, not using the FBI against all of the political enemies of the Republican Party like the fascists did during the fascist Joe Biden administration. And then the idiots in the news media like Abby Phillip and Jeffrey Tubout, like, oh, he's just doing his job. He's just doing, yeah, sure, right, yeah. Enver Hoxha was just doing his job, and honestly, Leventi Beria was just doing his job as head of the KGB. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. But here was an exchange between the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and Dickie Durbin, Dickie the Turban, Democrat senator from Illinois.
The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they're going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois.
The word is.
What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
Well, how about that? And Dickie the Turban was stunned into silence, but not for long because, you know, what kind of a miscreant he is. But isn't that amazing? And we, again, we've got all this madness going on. And here is one of the stories that the Democrat Party created, and they don't care about, but they've got invited gangs in from all over Latin America and beyond, for that matter, tens of thousands of Chinese nationals too. But here is CWB in Chicago. Feds, they love their colons. Latin Kings leader, Latin Kings is a giant street gang, a big-time street gang. Latin Kings leader put out $10,000 hit on ICE commander in Chicago. Now, we actually played a soundbite of this ICE commander in Chicago yesterday on our humble radio broadcast. Federal prosecutors say a Latin King, it's Latin Kings, but, what do they know? Latin Kings gang leader offered a $10,000 bounty for the killing of a senior immigration enforcement officer after an ICE agent shot a woman in Chicago. The woman had a semi-automatic pistol and was attacking the police and crashed her car into them. And she was shot multiple times because she was attacking them with a car and a gun. And the news media has their heads wedged so far up of one another's dark and remote regions. Just amazing. So prosecutors, how much can you get wrong, CWB Chicago? Federal prosecutors say a Latin King gang member, Latin Kings, offered $10,000 bounty for the killing of a senior immigration enforcement officer after ICE agent shot a woman in Chicago this weekend. They care very deeply about the woman. She must be a gang member, too. A source familiar with the investigation identified the intended target as Commander Gregory Bovino. And again, we played a soundbite of Gregory Bovino for you yesterday, where he's talking about what's going on out there.
Not only are our law enforcement officers being targeted, death threats, and actually every day on the street they're being attacked. When we have elected leadership that continually says things like we're jackbooted thugs or Nazis or whatever they say, it appeals to those weaker-minded constituents, and they end up paying the price yet again.
And now there's a $10,000 bounty that the Latin Kings street gang has put out on that man's life, Gregory Bovino, and he is the leading boarding patrol leader of the Midway Blitz operation in the city of Chicago. Juan Espinoza Martinez, 37 years old, known by the street name Monkey. Just don't call him Monkey because that's racist, you monkeys. Is accused of offering $10,000 reward, that's a bounty, for Bovino's murder and $2,000 for information about Bovino's location. Now, Juan Espinoza Martinez should be let free in a field, and attack helicopters should come in from the Marine Corps, and it should be used as target practice. It should be used for training. Then we'll have real training for the military in the city of Chicago. The case unsealed on Monday, yesterday, outlines how Martinez allegedly used social media, encrypted messaging, and his position with the Latin Kings, now they're the Latin Kings, to rally members of the gang after a police-involved shooting involving Border Patrol in Brighton Park outside of Chicago on Saturday. Now, federal source told investigators that Martinez dispatched gang members to the area of the shooting scene, probably including the B word that was shot by the cops, instructing them to acquire weapons and guard a Latin Kings territory near 26th Street and South Drake Avenue. And for the Democrats running the city of Chicago, this is great. We had 30 people shot over the weekend, 5 killed, 5 murdered, 25 more shot and wounded. And the Latin Kings, they control this area, and the Democrats, they say, isn't this great? I assume they're getting paid off, or, this is the third worlding of America by the left and by idiots and crooks and criminals. Just amazing. Now, the mayor of Chicago is a man named Brandon Johnson, also known as Let's Go Brandon Johnson. And he's a former school teacher and principal in the city of Chicago. And honestly, the city of Chicago is just so deep in the sewer because of the Democrats, where they say, hey, 30 people shot this weekend. Come on. It used to be worse. This is good. This is a good showing, honestly. And as you just heard Pam Bondi say, Chicago has 5 times the homicide rate of New York City, right? Oh, do you have that one there? I'm sorry. I thought we already played that one. Here's Pam Bondi. This is with Dick Durbin explaining what's going on in his own, major city of Chicago.
Your city has a murder rate 5 times higher than New York's. 571 homicides last year. If you were serious about protecting your people, you would be asking this administration for help. You're saying that we're coming into your state and your city. We're there to help make America safe and Illinois safe, whether or not you want to.
In Afghanistan, I've talked about these numbers before. In Afghanistan, for the last 5 years of our involvement in Afghanistan, the number of Americans being killed in Afghanistan was minuscule compared to the number of Americans being killed in Chicago. And the Democrats say, and that's a country, not a city. It's a rather large country. And the Democrats say, this is great. This is really good. We're doing better in Chicago. Isn't that just amazing? The Democrat Party. Look at the casualties in Afghanistan year over year, year to year, and just amazing. Compared to Chicago, all right, 2016, number of Americans killed in Afghanistan, 10. 2017, 15 Americans killed. 2018, 16 Americans killed. 2019, 23 Americans killed. 2020, 11 Americans killed. 2021, 13 Americans killed entirely because of Joe Biden. And Pam Bondi just pointed out last year in Chicago alone, not a state, not a country, just a city, 571 homicides. And the Democrats shout you down if you raise an eyebrow at that. And they call you names, the usual names, you know. Now, let's go to Brandon Johnson, number 5. And he's very angry yesterday because President Trump is sending National Guard troops, which is being welcomed by the Chicago Police Department, from Texas because the Democrats in Illinois, the big fat inherited billionaire, J.B. Pritzker, and the mayor of Chicago, this guy, they don't want any help because everything is great. It's Afghanistan times 20 every day in Chicago, and they literally don't care about the human lives that are being snuffed out. Here's Mayor Brandon Johnson.
I'm calling on this president to leave us the freak alone. We haven't bothered anybody.
Oh, the 571 murdered last year might beg to differ. The 5 murdered and 25 shot just this past weekend in 2 days might beg to differ. The mothers of the children that were gunned down, they literally have no regard for human life whatsoever, only for political power. Let's go, Brandon Johnson.
Today, we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
They are pro-crime. Everything they do, every action they take, their executive orders, the bills they pass, the budgets, the defunding the police, the vilifying the police, more crime, more murder, 571 homicides, and 1 year. And that is just amazing. Your Democrat Party, aren't they something? And it gets crazier from the mayor. It gets much crazier, as a matter of fact. Is he actually calling for, what is he calling for? And he's accusing, wait till you hear this stuff, absolutely nuts. You know, the big wireless company's been pulling one over on all of us for a long, long time now. It's time to make the switch to consumer cellular. I went to consumer cellular. I'm getting the same fast, reliable, nationwide big wireless coverage without the big wireless costs every month. And while that's a real good thing, it's not just about saving money on my bill every month. It's about not being used and abused by the big wireless carriers, the companies. Do you have any idea how much data you use every month? I have no idea personally. Most people over 50 use less than 8 gigs of data every month, but Big Wireless wants to shove all of us into an unlimited data plan because they want to redistribute our wealth, to cover the cost of 19-year-olds that use 10 times as much data as you. But if you're not using all that data, guess what? You are the one being used and abused. When you've had enough of that, make the switch to consumer cellular. They set me up with a service and a phone, and it's really easy to make the switch. You talk to an actual human being on the phone, not a robot. That person is based right here in the United States, not on a space platform over Rhodesia, and they're real human beings who are actually helpful. Only take you about 20 minutes, so give them a call today and make the switch. You'll be glad you did. They're at 1-800-760-0702. 1-800-760-0702. Yes, sir. Yeah, why don't you hear where the mayor of Chicago goes here? The guy is off the rails.
We must take action more drastic than what we have taken before, because what we are seeing is a more radical attempt to undermine our democracy.
Democrats love murder. They commit all of them, almost all of them, and they just love it. And wait till you hear the rest of this. And also, they're going to fire on Fort Sumter soon again. I think the Democrats are moving their capital to Richmond, Virginia, reconstituting the Confederate States of America. I can't wait to get to these sound bites of the Democrats loving homicide. Let's go to Jim. Calling from Chicago, Illinois. Jimmy, you're on the Chris Plante Show, listening on the great WLS. Jim, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris, great show, buddy. According, I think you said the updated numbers were 5 people were killed this weekend in Chicago, right? Just 5?
Yeah, just 5, yeah, and 25 more shot and wounded.
Right. According to Martha Raddatz of ABC Fake News, that's just a handful, right? Just like those apartment buildings in Colorado, it's just a handful.
Right, where Tren de Aragua was taking over the Venezuelan street gang with rifles, combat-style rifles, taking over entire apartment complexes. Oh, you're right, and Michael Piercy's making faces at me. So, Jim, this is for you and for America. Martha Raddatz, ABC Fake News, laughing and scoffing. Oh, it's no big deal that foreign gangs are taking over entire apartment complexes in Colorado.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes and a handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem?
Honestly, that's the soundbite you're talking about, right, Jim?
Yeah, just a handful of people died, just 5. That's a handful, right?
Well, that's right, and I got to tell you, I was just doing my searching on Al Gore's amazing internet, and they love these ridiculous headlines, and I've got audio on this today too, from my TV show last night on Chicago sees 33% drop in homicides through first half of 2025, and they're very proud of that. But their homicide rate is like higher than Tajikistan. It's higher than Ouagadougou and Burkina Faso, and they're proud of their murder rates. It's absolutely insane. The Democrat Party should be banned from the public square. Now I'll be attacked as being anti-something, First Amendment. You know, you can be pro-human life, but wait till you hear the mayor of Chicago. This is nuts. By the way, a friend of mine who is an all-around smart guy, intelligence community, and pointing out to me that the tactics that the Democrats are using against ICE in Chicago, in Portland, with convoys of vehicles blocking official vehicles from passing and so on. These are tactics and techniques that have been used for a long time by, for example, the Red Guard, the communist revolutionary violent armed groups in Europe in the 1970s and the 1980s. And they used the multiple vehicle convoys to block and barricade people, and then they'd assassinate and kidnap people. The Red Brigades would, right? And my friend John G., he's weighed in today. And, you know, the Red Brigades, the communist military groups that were pushing communism in Europe in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, the Red Brigades. And they married up with the Islamists, by the way, just like the Democrat Party today in the United States is married up with Hamas and ISIS, and they're on the side of death instead of the side of life. But, you know, the kidnapping of Aldo Moro, an Italian politician, 1978, they ambushed Moro's convoy, and they used a couple of vehicles to block the road, Fiats, you know, but it's Italy. Opened fire on the escorts, and 5 police bodyguards were killed, and they stole Aldo Moro, and then they held him hostage for a long time and murdered him, because that's what communists do. You know, that's what commies are all about. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. And they love Hamas and hate Israel. Today's Democrat Party. If you're Jewish and you're a Democrat, Brain scan time. Brain scan. All right, let's get back to the mayor of Chicago because they love violence against police, and they make up all kinds of crazy stuff. Now, let's go. We're going to number 7, right? Number 7, is that where we are? My apologies. All right, we're going to number 8 because we already played number 7. You know, I have to take my Skillcraft pen and make a check mark next to that, my U.S. government Skillcraft pen that I buy the box. So that's good. Here is Mayor Brandon Johnson, and he's talking about immigration and customs enforcement. And now, again, a federal officer has had a $10,000 bounty put on his head by a gang, the Latin Kings gang, that patrols and controls parts of Chicago because people like Brandon Johnson and people on the left are in charge. And this spectacle, I had to stop myself there for a moment, as a piece of work. Brandon Johnson, the Democrat mayor of Chicago, former school teacher and school principal. Brandon Johnson at a press conference. He's now the mayor of Chicago yesterday.
This raid wasn't about public safety, and it's certainly not about immigration. This was about a show of authoritarianism, a forceful display of tyranny.
It's not about and there's nobody in the reporter in the audience to say, Your Honor. You might call the mayor of the city of Chicago, Your Honor. Mr. Mayor, is illegal immigration illegal? Are there foreign gangs in Chicago operating their gang activities in the city of Chicago? But nobody asks that, right? Then he really went crazy. This is the mayor of Chicago, Illinois, yesterday blaming Republicans for street violence in Chicago, which is you should be dragged away by people carrying a big net. You should be thrown into an insane asylum. Listen to what the dangerous, criminal, fascist, authoritarian, so-called Democrat mayor of Chicago said yesterday at a press conference.
The right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War.
Rematch.
I want that to sit in right now because the President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America.
The President has declared war. First of all, what he meant to say was set in, not sit in. So he's a school teacher and a principal, and the English language is not his thing. The right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. Well, you may remember, Mr. Mayor, that your slave-driving, whip-cracking, slave-raping Democrat Party was the Confederate States of America, the CSA, and the American Civil War. And that's why I made reference earlier, the Democrat Party is going to move their capital back to Richmond, Virginia, which was the capital of the Confederate States of America under their Democrat president, Jefferson Davis, while the Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, was freeing the slaves and smashing the Confederate States of America. The Democrat Party then got a hold of the South, and they still call them Southern Democrats, like that means they're not Democrats. You're a racist and an idiot, and if you want a rematch of the Civil War, you guys started the first Civil War. It looks an awful lot like you might be working on starting the second American Civil War, assassinating people and shooting political leaders and so on, and rioting against the central government, which is what you guys did on the lead up to the first Civil War that you started, and so that you could keep your slaves, Brandon Johnson. He's black, of course. Isn't that amazing? Yes, they certainly are. And the Democrats, like Senator Tammy Duckworth, also just a complete meatloaf. And most of them can't even pronounce Gestapo, but they love calling everybody Gestapo.
They are using Gestapo tactics in Chicago, and this is what Trump wants to do, right? He wants to intimidate the people of Chicago. That's not going to happen.
That was CNN. Does anybody say, Senator, describe to me what Gestapo tactics you're describing? What exactly are you talking about? The Gestapo tactics, because there's crime. There are gangs from foreign countries from all over the place. Am I wrong about that? And again, in Chicago, they It's just so amazing. Yesterday on my well, actually, let's go in order. Let's go to I guess we played number 11, I think. Let's jump to number 13, right? And number 13, Chicago Police Dispatch. The ICE units were under attack by violent mobs of Democrat partyites who acted like they were attacking Fort Sumter or Atlanta was about to be burned or something. Somebody called Rhett Butler. The Chicago Police Dispatch, while federal law enforcement are under attack by violent mobs of criminal Democrats who are in cahoots with Latin American gangs that murder thousands and thousands a year. And the Chicago, this is the police, and the police chief or one of the chiefs in Chicago was out there yesterday saying, "Oh no, we're responding to all crises, and if federal agents are being attacked, then certainly we're dispatching Chicago police." Even though there's reporting by Fox News and beyond that that's a lie. But here is the Chicago Police Dispatch recording. We're saying we need ICE is under attack. We need to send in reinforcements, Chicago police. And it sounded like this.
And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that per 999, chief of patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location.
Chief of patrol, Chicago police, says clear out. We're not sending anybody over to that location. And that means you're on your own, like Blazing Saddles. You know, you're on your son, you're on your own. Isn't that amazing? Chief of Patrol, Chicago Police, and that's the dispatch. And the Chicago Police Superintendent, a man named Larry Snelling, who wanted to wear his hat down real low over his brows during the press conference yesterday. And he claims that never happened.
There was something that was put out there that there was an internal message that came from the chief of patrol. That is absolutely not true. There is no internal message. There was a phone conversation. I'm not sure until we get to our after action, all of the exact language that was there. But I have had a conversation with the chief of patrol who was concerned about officers showing up on the scene. Our officers were not told to stand down. Our officers were out there throughout the entire event.
Well, the dispatcher told all of the police officers that might have been headed to the attack on Immigration Customs Enforcement to stand down. And Fox News has a photograph of the message that was sent out by the chief of patrol, and it has aired far and wide. Why is the chief of the police superintendent, Larry Snelling, which is the top dog, right? Chicago police ordered to ignore Border Patrol agents' plea for help while surrounded by angry mobs of protesters like the Red Brigades. Isn't that amazing? And again, this stuff, here's the recording of the dispatcher. Here is the photograph of the internal department, police department message, Chicago cops. It was obtained by Fox News. Please, Chief of Patrol, no units will respond to this as related from, and then a code. Caller is one of approximately 30 armed patrol agents of ICE who are being surrounded by a large crowd of people requesting, and they are requesting Chicago Police Department. That's the dispatch. So they're requesting the help. And then you just heard the dispatcher saying, we're standing down. We're not going there. Don't head in that direction. Don't help out your federal law enforcement officers. Get out of there because the Democrat Party, honestly, and I'm sorry, the mayor is saying that who are these right-wingers that want a rematch of the Civil War? That's what he said, a rematch of the Civil War.
The right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War.
Now, you guys would lose your asses so fast this time, it wouldn't even be funny. But we don't want to do that, do we? We want to live in peace and, have neighbors with whom we can disagree in a civil way. But you guys need to stop shooting everybody because it's really becoming an issue. I don't know if you're aware of that. On CNN, it's not an issue. Isn't that amazing? And and again, they're bragging about, how wonderful the murder rate is. Let's go to the governor of Illinois, Pritzker, who inherited billions from his grandfather and his father. On Trump is bad because, hey, we used to have 900 murders a year. Now we've only got 571 murders a year. Look at the progress that's being made.
Trump's invasion force is not going after the worst of the worst, like he said. They're harassing and detaining many people based only on the color of their skin. Tamale vendors, delivery people, people looking for work at Home Depot, and even families just out and about enjoying themselves on a sunny day.
Yeah, show me an example of that, you fascist pig. I'm sorry, it is grotesquely, morbidly obese. But Home Depot, you mean where illegal aliens gather to get day labor and everybody knows it? And, tamale vendors, you racist? What are you talking about, tamale vendors? Isn't that amazing? On CNN, as embarrassing as it was, they've got a guy named Boris Sanchez. There's a lot of this, particularly in Central America, because of the communist influence in the 1980s with the Sandinistas. And so they've got Sanchez, Latin American last name. Boris comes from all the Soviet communists that were in there, and the Sandinistas becoming communists and all that. Boris Sanchez talking to White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller and doing the Democrat Party's propaganda. Oh, you're just arresting los brown peoples.
Is it the case that, as Pritzker frames it, you are profiling brown people? That this immigration crackdown is designed
Miller's laughing.
To go after people of color?
It's such a, oh, what a dumb question. The illegal aliens who are here are taking jobs away from blacks. They're taking jobs away from whites. They're taking jobs away from Latinos. They're taking their health benefits away. They're taking their school slots away. And, of course, in many cases, they're committing heinous crimes.
We really need more Scandinavians and Germans to sneak illegally into the country. Boris, the Soviet Sanchez.
So that's not exactly a no, Stephen. Can you just unequivocally state that the immigration policy... I said it's a dumb question.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate that. But
it's a dumb question.
No, and it's a dumb question.
No, this policy is not designed
I thought when I said it was a dumb question, it meant no.
Well, I just want to be clear and precise. I appreciate you trying to qualify my questions, but nevertheless, I think it's a fair one that a lot of people have.
My full answer is no. That is a lie, and it's a dumb question.
All right, and on my television show on Newsmax last night, the liberal on the panel, Jason Nichols, who's a PhD and a college professor, I was talking about, hey, over the weekend in Chicago, there were 30 people shot. 5 of them killed, 25 of them wounded, a lot of them children, most of them black. Shouldn't that be an issue? And here's the Democrat Party spin on this. Jason Nichols.
I know you guys don't like numbers, but of course,
we don't like numbers.
Shootings are down 37% from in 1 year, and of course, they're down 60% from 2021. So there's been serious progress made, and I like to give credit to the local police because they've been doing a good job of trying to battle crime. Again, this isn't about this isn't about murder. It's not about shootings. It's not about any of that. It's all about control.
Yeah, Democrat Party control the left over the United States, over our economy and our military, our landmass, and killing the last great hope for humanity on earth because the left is here. Jason goes, I was laughing at him over and over again. Hey, it's so great. This is, hey, look, crime's down 37%. Because last year you murdered so many people it was off the charts. Compared to 2021, it's down 60%. You had 900 people or something murdered then. And they're like, hey, this is great. We only had 5 killed and 25 more shot this weekend. The numbers are good. We're headed in the right direction. Everything is fine. That's the Democrat Party's take. To hell with the dead.
Remain calm. All is well. All is
well. And today is October 7th. That makes it the 2nd anniversary, the 2-year anniversary of the massacre, the slaughter in Israel, where 1,200 people plus were massacred, slaughtered by an army of troglodytes from hell. 13,543 were injured. 255 were kidnapped, abducted, raped, tortured, most of them murdered in the end. And today, Democrats around the United States of America are protesting in favor of what they call Palestine. And in the United Kingdom, the same thing is happening there. The Keir Starmer, the prime minister there, who's not much to write home about, urges UK students not to protest as Israel marks 2-year anniversary of the October 7th massacre. And what happens is the left has come out because of that brown people are victims, and Israelis are allegedly not brown people, even though they're Semites too, but they're the villains. And the Los Angeles Times, so they're on the side of the killers. The left is. They've got that in common. Nobody kills like the left, not even the Islamists. Pro-Palestinian protests on the 2nd-year anniversary of Hamas attack on Israel is the headline in the Los Angeles Times in the United States of America, because the Democrats are protesting today, Tuesday, marking the 2nd anniversary of the massacre, of the rapes, the tortures, the murders, the kidnappings. And the Democrat Party is on the side of the murderers, overwhelmingly. It doesn't mean every stinking, filthy, creepy, mentally ill Democrat, but the mobs in the streets that are attacking the police and attacking ICE with their Palestinian flags. New York City prepares for protest memorials to mark the anniversary of October 7th. Why would they have to prepare for that? Oh, because they're pro-Hamas. They're anti-Semites. They are like the Socialist Workers' Party in Germany. You know who I'm talking about here? Isn't that amazing? They're pro-Hamas.